You are listening to the IU Report with Grant Shouse and Mike Hutsell every Tuesday on the Central Indiana Sports Report.
Kicking off another edition of the IU Report here today on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Grant Shouse with Mike Hutsell. And Mike, we're definitely into the full swing of basketball stuff. Football has been over for almost a month now, which is hard to believe. It'll be a month ago this week since Indiana won the national championship, and they're still getting recognized with many big awards, including their defensive coordinator, Bryant Haines, taking home the Broyles Award. First assistant coach in the history of the program to do so. Not that shocking. And I got to tell you, I thought that this Broyles Award thing was a one-man field, and Brian Haines, no question, was the top assistant in the country. And it just goes to show the culture that Indiana's built with Curt Cignetti.
It really has. And like you said, there really wasn't a debate as to who it was going to be. You could make a case maybe for the DC down. Ironically, one of Haynes' best friends down in Miami, the guy who came from JMU to Miami, did a great job. But he was the other finalist for the job. But just the schematic advantage that Indiana had seemingly every week with Haynes and his ability to disguise his pass rush, to disguise coverages, and hack into the other team's headset so he knew what their plays were going to be, as we learned during the postseason from other fan bases that Indiana was doing. So just no surprise whatsoever. The only surprise to me, Grant, is that I know they gave him a hell of a raise, and I know they were able to keep him on campus, but I kind of felt like you would hear his name as a head coaching candidate more this year, unless he's just kind of the coach in waiting, and it's kind of an unspoken thing going on in Bloomington. He seems like a guy, and he's making $3 million. So he takes another job. It's going to have to be a pretty big job, because it would be a pay cut for him to go to like a MAC school or something like that. But just him not getting any head coaching mentions is really the only surprise about this guy. I don't think anybody's stunned that he got this award.
Hey, I'm good with his name not being floated around in that conversation.
No, I'm not complaining about it whatsoever.
For sure. And I think that he has said multiple times there's not really a burning desire to be a head coach right now. Maybe later on down the road. The guy's still young. I mean, the guy started his coaching career off at Manchester University. That thankfully for that university, I wouldn't even be alive right now. We wouldn't even be talking right now. But he did a phenomenal job all year. And you're right. That is a little surprising that his name's not been floated around in a head coaching spot. It almost seems to me right now, again, things can change, but it almost seems to me right now that he may be the head coach in waiting. That kind of seems to be the consistent feeling with the fan base and the talk on the message boards and on Twitter right now. I think Cignetti's still got another 5 or 6 years left in him, to be honest with you. And Haynes may go and take another head coaching job and come back. We've seen that plenty of times. But right now, it's crucial. They're going to get him back next year. Not only are they going to have him back, they're going to have Mike Shanahan back next year. And then you had Tino Sunseri back onto the staff after he took the 1-year hiatus to go out to UCLA, be the offensive coordinator, get fired midseason. The door opened back up to come to Bloomington after Chandler Whitmer, who worked with Fernando Mendoza this year, who I think it is good because I thought he did a good job with Curtis Rourke that first year. But I just thought Chandler Whitmer did a way better job developing Fernando Mendoza in 1 year and working with him in 1 year. You hate to lose Chandler Whitmer, but I think that getting Sunseri back, he's worked with this staff before. A lot of the same players are still on the roster. There's some familiarity. I trust him to be able to come in and develop Josh Hoover over the offseason, make him better, get him to where they want him to be playing. And I don't hate the idea of him coming back. Again, you hate to see Chandler Whitmer leave after what he did in the one season with Fernando, but I'm excited to see Tino come back and continue to do his thing as the quarterback's coach and as the co-offensive coordinator.
And I'm excited to see the hair again. The man has just a majestic mane. It's one of the more impressive things in Division I championship level football. So
I was going to ask,
welcome back,
is it
Tino.
the best hair? I was going to ask, is it the best hair in college football, Mike?
Man, it's got to be up there. I don't even know who would be second, to be honest. Mike Gundy's mullet is gone, so it's an easy one. There's no doubt. It's as profound and adamant as Indiana was about being the national champion this year, 16-0. Tino has the best hair. It's definitely not the Nepo baby that took his job at UCLA, Neuheisel, the guy who looked like he was trying to shut down an orphanage to open a ski resort somewhere in Colorado. But yeah, Tino's that's just majestic. That's the only thing I can think of to describe the man's hair.
Unbelievable.
You want to get into the basketball team? Well, Grant, our worst case scenario happened. They went to Illinois. They laid an egg. They got ran by a really, really, really good, I think, Final Four caliber Illinois team. The Euro trash ran us off the court. And now you got to get ready for a Friday night. I'm sure those guys up at Purdue who have so much else to do besides get ready for a Friday night game against Indiana. What are you thinking heading as we prepare for this one?
By the way, Purdue does have something before playing Indiana, guys, and that's number 2 Michigan on Tuesday.
Thought on the Illinois game is that it's funny how Bob Knight made up this Ivan Rank guy, or what was his name?
Ivan Rinko.
He made up this Ivan Rinko guy, and Illinois is filled with a team full of those kind of dudes. Like, it's ironic. Again, this just goes to show how far college basketball's from, but I don't know. They've done a good job finding these guys overseas somewhere. EuroLeague basketball is very, very good. Basketball in Europe is some of the best in the nation, or not the nation, the world. Sorry, the world. And just credit to Illinois for being able to find those guys. But that game's over. I don't think you can dwell on it. It kind of went the way you thought it would go. You got blown out on the road. They didn't come in to your place and beat you by 20. And you get to move on to Purdue. Purdue's going to have a really big test against Michigan on Tuesday. You're going to be able to learn a lot about Purdue on Tuesday when they play Michigan, which will be arguably the best game in the country that night. I think we'll know what Purdue team we're getting after that game. I know they're probably putting a lot of their focus onto Michigan, but then you wonder, okay, are they looking ahead to playing Indiana on Friday? Are they going to take care of the task in front of them in Michigan? Who knows? Now, you could not have drawn up a worst case scenario for Indiana because, again, you just got blown out on the road by 20. You're going to go home. You're going to rest up. You're going to practice. You're going to watch Purdue play Michigan on Tuesday. Purdue is either, obviously, A, going to win the game and have a lot of momentum coming into the IU game on Friday, or B, they're going to lose the game and be pissed off for 2 days and be ready to play IU on Friday and trying to annihilate them at home. So Indiana really is in a lose-lose scenario here unless they're able to regroup from this and have their best week of practice and come back Friday and go up to Mackey and win, which would be improbable. I'm having the same expectation, I think, for the Purdue game a little bit as I did today against Illinois. So we'll just have to see. But again, there's a lot of scenarios that point to Indiana not having a whole lot of success on Friday night, kind of just due to the fact of what happened against Illinois on Sunday, and then what happened, and then what's going to happen with Purdue on Tuesday night against Michigan.
Yeah, it's not a great scenario. It's almost it puts Indiana fans in a very precarious situation, because if you almost feel like Purdue needs to win on Tuesday to up your chances, because the chance of a letdown is there. But if you do that, you're rooting for Purdue to beat the number one team in college basketball, and it's just not in our DNA to do that. So I don't really know what you do. I know it's going to be a tough assignment. Purdue has seemingly righted the ship a little bit. They did some things with their lineup that has gotten them better. They're relying more on their big men. Painter says big men have got to play more. They're utilizing their big men on the glass, and we all just look at what happened in the Illinois game. Indiana just cannot handle size. They can't handle teams that can attack the glass. So giving up second, third, fourth opportunities, especially on the road against Purdue, if that happens, then it could be another long, long night. I don't know yet. I haven't really seen what the numbers are going to look like. It's very early, obviously. There's not going to be a Vegas spread, or I want to see what happens with the Ken Palm after today's game and everything. But this was going to be a tough week. It was always going to be a tough week. We talked about in the last episode, the 4-game stretch that they had. That was Illinois, Purdue, Michigan State, and Ohio State. Well, they're 0-1, and that's not unexpected. But the second toughest game is coming up probably next. See if you're maybe a little more competitive this time around than you were in the Illinois game. But just get through it, stay healthy, and finish up going into March. Hopefully secure that tourney berth, because ultimately that's what this season is about, with Darren DeVries' first team, putting together a whole new roster, going into the Big Ten, completely unknown with the players that you had. They can still come out of this with a winning record in the conference. So let's just see what happens on Friday and then focus on finishing strong.
I agree with you, and I think that Indiana has a really good shot here at being able to pull out some of these wins. I'm not saying that I don't think they can go in and beat Purdue. I think that's possible. It's certainly on the table. Do I like their chances? Honestly, probably not at the moment, but it certainly is possible. And then you get Northwestern. If you lose to Purdue, again, talking hypothetically, put a lot of the cart before the horse here is you cannot lose to Purdue and then turn around the next Tuesday and come back home and lose to Northwestern. That just cannot happen. You can't do that. And if you do, you can almost throw your tournament hopes out the window. You have got to beat Northwestern, and you've got to beat Minnesota, and you've got to beat Ohio State. You just lost to Illinois. You've got Purdue. You've got Michigan State. Those are 3 of the 4 top teams, 3 of the top 5 teams in the Big Ten. And it'd be nice if you could pull off one and beat Purdue or Michigan State. Seems like Michigan State never comes to Indiana and plays well. I feel like Indiana is, even with Archie, like Archie had Michigan State's number. And in the last few years, I feel like Michigan State just does not play well at Indiana. So you could be looking at a potential win at home if you could get Michigan State, but there's a lot of things to look ahead towards, and you got to win the games you're supposed to win. And if you lose the games that people are picking you to lose, then who knows what's going to happen Selection Sunday, which, by the way, is 4 weeks from today on Sunday. I don't know when this is coming out, but 4 weeks from Sunday, after the Illinois game, you're going to have a bracket. The goal, like you said, make the tournament in the first year with Darren DeVries. Not necessarily, you don't have to be in the 1 through 4 line. If you can get in as an 8 seed or a 9 seed, or I hate saying this, but if Dayton's on the table, then it is what it is. As long as you make the tournament with Darren DeVries in his first year with a whole new roster, there is a lot of things pointing towards your success. And I'm excited to see, again, I know I've been saying this, but I'm excited to see this team compete. Not pleased with the showing against Illinois, but there's a lot of upside. There's a lot of promising things still here. You just, again, you got to win the games you're supposed to. You're supposed to beat Northwestern. You're supposed to beat Minnesota. You're probably supposed to beat Ohio State. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, the Ohio State game is going to be a real key, I think. It's going to be a chance at a quad one to close out the regular season. Could be the difference between going 10-10 and 11-9 in the conference. So that game is probably one as an Indiana fan you can circle. I watched them last night against Virginia. They didn't look bad. They have one of the best players in the conference, obviously, with Bruce Thornton. But after him, it's kind of like Indiana. They've got Lamar and then some role player guys, but they don't know where the scoring is going to come from. That's what Ohio State is. So
I would say they've got their Tucker DeVries and Devin Royal in a way. I think they mirror Indiana a lot.
But what they have that Indiana doesn't have, and I'm very, very happy for this every day of the season, Gabe Cups. I'm so happy Indiana doesn't have him anymore.
Yeah.
Thanks so much to Grant and Mike for all the great IU reports over the last year. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast with an IU fan in your life and help us spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. Also, I have a new daily podcast called Greg and His Friends Talk Sports. Mike and Grant are regulars. Basically, my friends and I 10 to 20, 30 minutes every day to talk about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about in kind of a scoreboard format. Please join me pretty much every day. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.